Welcome back to our second hour here at World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C., calling your attention, as always, to tarpley.net, where you can read all about George Bush, the elder, and the relevance of that. Right? That this was a liberal banker-style Republican, but now you're getting the gutter snipe brigade is in the process of arriving. So, on the Democratic side, we have Pelosi. Now, this is unfortunate. It shows the general degradation of the Democratic Party. There are a lot of people supporting Pelosi who are doing it because they think that Pelosi will now resist Obama and try to stop Obama from making dirty deals with the Republicans, which is what Obama would obviously be delighted to do, given his basic profile as a traitor, as a weakling, as a coward, as a sellout, and all the rest of the things that we've seen. The heart of the resistance turns out to be the group around Congressman Peter DeFazio. We've called attention to him, and Marcy Kaptur of Ohio, DeFazio of Oregon. They were the ones who put forward a motion saying, let's try to figure out why the Democrats lost the recent election and not rush immediately to give Pelosi a new investiture, right, as the princess for the next 2 years. And that motion got 68 votes, and 68 votes is about a one-third, maybe a little bit less than one-third, more than one-third of the Democratic strength. So out of those Democratic House members, more than a third of them not happy with Pelosi. The hard anti-Pelosi line came from Heath Schuler, somewhat of a blue dog, I guess, a right-wing Democrat. He got 43 votes. So there are 43 people who are really not happy with Pelosi at all and want her out. Now, this is relevant just to say a few more words about the foreclosure business. The hearings are very instructive about what's going on. The mortgage bandits are mounting a huge effort of lobbying and manipulation of these members of Congress. And what they want is the legalization ex post facto of MERS, M-E-R-S, the Mortgage Electronic Registration System, which is this illegal thing that they have where they transfer the ownership of property and don't tell the county and state authorities about this, right, which is meaning that they flaunt applicable law. The industry, I say industry with great skepticism, these gangsters in the mortgage extortion racket are seeking legislation that would effectively affirm the legality of MERS and block any bill that would call into question what MERS does. MERS has already spent more than $1 million in lobbying since the fall of 2008. Who's lobbying for MERS? Let's go take a look. Well, the top lobbyist for MERS is Bob Livingston, former Republican member of the House. And you remember when Newt Gingrich resigned in disgrace in late 1998. Livingston was slated to become the new Speaker of the House, except he didn't. He was outed by Larry Flint as an adulterer, and he had to resign. So he's got a new lucrative career, wonderful career as a lobbyist. So Bob Livingston, Livingston's former Chief of Staff, Alan Martin, John M. Duncan, who was Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Legislative Affairs under the Mad Dog Bush Jr. administration, and Arnold Havens, a former general counsel at the U.S. Treasury. So they're out there fighting for MERS and the ability of zombie bankers and hedge fund hyenas to asset strip you. Now, Marcy Kaptur, Congresswoman of Ohio, has a bill that would prohibit government-controlled mortgage financiers like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, would stop them from buying new mortgages that are in the MERS system, because the legality of these things is very dubious. And Kaptur says this was invented, MERS was invented by the most powerful financial players in the country while regulators were asleep. at the wheel or behind the switch or whatever it is. Captor is asking the Department of Housing and Urban Development to study how a federal land title system might operate in a way that would protect the role of the states, but more transparency and regulatory oversight are needed. So there's a big fight going on about whether you're going to get your house stripped away. And notice that the mainstream of both major parties don't talk about it because this they agree on, right? They want to feast on your flesh. And foreclosures is a dandy way to do precisely that. Now let's get back to our theme of the death panels. The next death panel is the Rivlin-Domenici death panel. This is called the Bipartisan Policy Center, and they have a cast of characters. They have that guy Dan Glickman, failed congressman, secretary of Agriculture for Clinton and others. So after the Bowles-Simpson plan for national suicide, we now have the Domenici-Rivlin plan for national suicide. These are the death panels of the United States of America. And the people on them are these little Brünings, little Schachts, little Brünings. Brüning was, of course, the prime minister in Germany who destroyed the political system and most of society between 1930 and 1932 with a strong austerity plan of precisely the type that these characters are coming forward with. They don't know it, but they're doing it. And, of course, Schacht, big central banker in Germany in the 1920s, later on finance minister for Hitler. So this is Schachtian, Brüning-style economics. Now, Rivlin, again, occupies a special feature, a special position, because these two death panels, she is the personal union between them. She gets to be on both of them. She is, of course, a tremendous exponent of Malthusian and Schachtian austerity. Now, the main thing about both of these committees, and there are others. Remember, there's the Gary Hart, Bill Bradley, and Danforth group that wants to raise the gasoline tax to allow all sorts of wonderful things to be done for the polar bears and the pelicans. And then we've also got another group also funded by the Peter Peterson interests, which is interested in the government budget reform and other things. So we've got a season of at least 4 of these monstrous commissions. What do none of them do? Well, the obvious thing is they all claim to be very courageous and rigorous and austere, but they never touch Wall Street. There's nothing about a Tobin tax, no Wall Street sales tax. There's no financial turnover tax. There's no bank tax. There is no idea of forcing these zombie bankers to pay more. Just another example, the carried interest provision. Carried interest is a monstrous loophole. This is the mother of all loopholes. It says if you're a hedge fund hyena and you have income, you can call that carried interest. Well, it's not carried interest, but if you call it carried interest, you can put that on the return and you're taxed less than you would be if this was normal, if this were normal wages. So carried interest is one of the big themes behind the scenes where the plutocratic congressmen meet with the lawyers for the zombie banks and above all the hedge fund hyenas and the lobbyists. This is what people like the Koch brothers actually want to defend. This is what they're really interested in, the stuff about same-sex marriage, gays, oh my God, guns, all these other issues. They don't care. They don't care one way or the other. What they care about is no taxation, no regulation, and no taxation means don't you touch my carried interest. The average person doesn't get any benefits off carried interest because they're just not eligible. So that is not touched. So the common denominator, first of all of these austerity commissions is they don't propose to make Wall Street pay anything. Actually, they propose to make it pay less. Back in a minute.